everyone, and welcome to my brand new channel, Dragon's Hoard. My name is Rebecca and I'm so excited to be here with you today. I do have my notes with me in this binder today because there's a lot of questions. It's not just going to be just one of the Booktube newbie tags that we're going over today. That's what I plan on doing. I probably should have said that to start with, but I'm nervous and I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, so I did find two newbie tags when I was looking at the Booktube newbie tag. So I want to go over the question for both of those today. The first question is, why did you start this channel? For me, this channel is something that I wanted to do for a very long time. It's something that I wanted to start off probably from about the time I was 14, 15 years old, when I really got into reading while I was in high school. But I never really got into the making videos just because I was nervous about what other people would say, what my family would say, how they would react, things of that nature. I was a very shy, introverted teenager, child, I guess you could say. I didn't really like having my photos taken. I've been warming up to that. I've done better over the years. Now I actually enjoy getting my photos taken, but that did take a long time. The next question that we're going to go over is, what are some of the fun and unique things you can bring to Booktube? Sorry about the noise, guys. Everybody's home. It's kind of later in the afternoon, but I don't really want to record this at 5 o'clock in the morning and wake everybody up, or late at night and, well, wake everybody up. So some of the fun things that I can bring, or I believe I can bring to Booktube, will include well, for starters, I'm just getting started into this, so maybe I have a different point of view, how to review things. I do like, whenever I get a book, or even if it's an ebook, I do like to look at the covers and see how they correlate to the story, the plot line, anything to do with the story overall. However, I do know that we did always go by that saying, don't judge a book by its cover, but it really feels like that isn't as prominent now as it used to be. Just because now covers are meant to be a hook and draw us in. That way we will buy the book, and so we'll read the story. So that's something that I do when I review books. I'll think about like the color concept that went into it, the underlying design, the font, if there seems to be any symbolism going on in there related to the story. I'll look at those things and then I'll give my opinions about it. Sometimes there are covers where I'm like, yeah, this could have been way better. But other times I'm like, I love this. This is great, perfect for the book. And sometimes I'll go back at it because I will review the cover before I read the book and what I think those things could be talking about, and then I'll go back and go over it again and add in extra notes. Question number 3. What are you most excited for about this channel? So I think one of the things I'm most excited about this channel for is just being able to be part of a community where I can talk about books, especially the kinds of books that I read. I enjoy romance, romantasy, high fantasy, fantasy in general. Fantasy is my favorite genre. I do just want to be able to discuss my ideas as far as my books go, what I enjoy reading, what I think about them, if I think they could have been done better, if I think they were just an easy read, I guess we could say, and not something that keeps you like constantly on your toes, which is what I really like. I like it when someone catches me off surprise and there's such a plot twist that you'd never see it coming, even if you look for the clues. So that's one of the things I really enjoy about reading. Question number 4. Why do you love reading? So for me, I really love reading because of the way I feel while I read, I guess. I guess it is part of the escapism that we experience when we read a good book. It's very stimulating, but at the same time imaginative. It makes me feel like my brain is actually working and not just being a puddle of absolute mush like when I start to doom scroll. I'm not a fan of the doom scrolling just because my brain feels soggy. Another thing that I enjoy about it is that it's relaxing and it takes me to a new world, one that's very imaginative and creative. Alright, so question number 5. What book or series got you into reading? what was it? I think in my high school years, I would say it was probably Aragon. That was the first thing that I started out with that really got me into reading again. I read a lot as a child, but they were all children's books, not really so much chapter books, just like the little picture books, but I did enjoy reading from a young age. Question number 6. What questions would you ask your favorite booktuber or YouTuber? So I am going to read this off of my thing just because. The first one would be, what are the biggest don'ts for a newbie in the booktube community? And then the second question I would ask would be, what would be your biggest tips for a newbie to make captivating and coherent content when it comes to book reviews? I think those are the two big things that I would just like some insight on, because I feel like those would help me grow as a booktuber, but also be better understood by my audience and be able to communicate better with the overall community. Question number 7. What challenges do you think starting a booktube channel will be the hardest to overcome? For me, I believe the hardest challenges to overcome will probably be the timing in which I'll have to record my videos. It's probably going to have to be either extremely early in the morning or extremely late at night. I know today I'm not doing that, but it's just because I won't have time for the rest of this week to record, and I do want to get my first video out within a certain time frame from now. And if I do get it recorded today, then that'll give me time to edit before I publish it on the date ahead, because I do want it published on that specific date so I can have that as a commemoration each year if I do continue with booktube further forward, which I do plan on doing. I just want it to be on a specific date. Another thing that will be challenging is not having an overwhelming amount of background noise. Everybody's always busy here whenever I do record, and everybody's doing things. People are coming in and out. The neighbors' dogs bark. It's chaotic. We have chickens, we have ducks, we have goats. It's just a lot of noise, so that will be hard to mitigate. Question number 8. When did you start reading? If we go back to when I really just began reading, I'd probably say I was about 5 or 6 years old. But like I mentioned earlier, I didn't really start getting back into reading consistently until I was probably about 14, maybe 13 at the earliest, but it wasn't very consistent then. I'd say the best date would be 14, and then all through high school I was a very consistent reader. I kept up with my classes and everything, and then after high school I fell off the reading bandwagon when I went to college. I couldn't keep up with the workload, and then trying to read something else just felt like I was frying my brain like an egg. So I dropped off of that for a while, until the later parts of college, and then I did start to pick up reading again for enjoyment instead of just for studies. And now that I finished college, I picked up reading again and decided I wanted to take it a step further with the booktube. Question number 9. Where do you read? I typically read at home, usually in bed after a long day at work. Sometimes I just want to relax and not be on my phone. I want to feel productive while still relaxing. Sometimes I'll have questions about something that I'm reading, or sometimes I'll even read outside in the hammock or sit down somewhere else outside and just touch grass and have a breath of fresh air. Those are other places that I do like to read. Question number 10. What kind of books do you like to read? As I also mentioned previously, I really do enjoy fantasy. That is honestly my favorite genre, but at the same time, romantasy has become a big part of my life. I'm starting to get into a bit more of the dark romance. It's a touch and miss here. Some of them are really good, others not so much. I try to keep my horizons open. I also enjoy high fantasy. I used to read more romance, just normal romance rom-coms, things like that. Now, not so much. It's more fantasy based. Yeah. Fantasy and romantasy. Question 11. What are you currently reading? So currently I am reading Lethal Deception by Marian Blackwood. This book is very intriguing. I've really enjoyed it. I know I read something of hers previously. I believe it was called Ruthless Villains. We'll talk about both of these in later videos. But I wasn't too much a fan of Ruthless Villains. However, Lethal Deception has been wonderful. I have thoroughly enjoyed Lethal Deception. It is a large series, but it does just keep getting better. It is a romantasy. Beginning, it's a bit of a slow burn. You wouldn't really think it'd end up being a romantasy, but it is very enjoyable. It does have plot twists, like I mentioned previously, so that's why I believe I enjoyed Lethal Deception more than I did Ruthless Villain. So now we're going to start going over the other questions that I found, because I did watch other Booktube newbie tags, and I did find not really multiple. I found a couple videos where people had more than one Booktube newbie tag, but I don't know exactly where that other tag came from. And when I went back to find it again, because they mentioned where it was from, I couldn't find the video. I thought I saved it, and I guess I didn't. But we'll just go over the questions, and maybe eventually I'll find it again, hopefully. Okay, so Booktube newbie tag number 2. Question 1 on this tag: where are you joining us from? Well, I am joining the Booktube community from the state of Georgia, United States of America. Or rather, if you'd rather a different name, the Peach State, USA, and I am so excited to be here, like I mentioned earlier. The next question that we have, question number 2, is how old are you? At the time of recording this, I am currently 28 years old. However, I do believe that by the time I publish this video, I will be 29. I might push myself to post this as my first YouTube video on my birthday, just to mark the beginning of this journey at a certain age. I think that would be really interesting, a good way to commemorate every. Question number 3, why did you join Booktube? So this goes back to that other newbie tag. I don't really think we need to go over it again. Just like I said, it's where I could have community, be able to talk about the books that I enjoy, and probably practice my public speaking and having more coherent speeches. Question number 4, what is the meaning behind your channel name? So my channel name is a little, I guess, unique compared to others. I know a lot of people say that when you make your channel name, it should just be your name. I, however, named my channel Dragon's Hoard. So as we know, Dragon's hoard what is precious to them, and we always see they're like overgrown crows, they're hoarding shiny things. In more contemporary depictions and descriptions of dragons, sometimes it's said that they enjoy hoarding knowledge, books, things of that nature. So that's one of the reasons I decided to name my channel Dragon's Hoard, just because they enjoy accumulating knowledge, books. I like shiny things too, so shiny things, weaponry, but I also have a very deep-seated love of dragons. So, carrying on, what type of books do you read? Like I said, mostly fantasy, romantasy. Those are my top genres. I will dabble, like I said, in dark romance, sometimes mafia romances. Very occasionally will I go back to the rom-coms, but it's been a while since I've done that. Question number 6. Who are some of your favorite authors? For me, my favorite authors that I can think of right now would definitely be Christopher Paolini and Sarah J. Maas. They've been wonderful authors from a very long time ago when I first started reading. Yeah, Sarah J. Maas and Christopher Paolini, they were my first big fantasy authors. I know Sarah J. Maas has gotten more into the romantasy tropes, but when I read her, it was Throne of Glass, which blew me away. That was one of the most impactful series that I read as a teenager and young adult. And then, of course, Aragon. I read the books, I watched the movies. As you can see here beside me, I have the box set of the first 3 books. This has its own story. This was a steal from the flea market. Absolutely wonderful priced. I was so excited, so happy. I know in our first tag, it said, what book are you currently reading? That is what I'm currently reading, but question number 7 is, what is the last book you read? Before that book, before Lethal Deception, the book before that was Bride of Brutal Hearts by Kate Stevens on Kindle Unlimited. This is non-sponsored, by the way. It is a why choose enemies to lovers vampire romantasy set in a world with a unique magic system and everything basically run off of blood. Their magic systems run off blood. It's really unique, very interesting, but as the title says, brutal. This is a very brutal book. So it does have trigger warnings at the beginning, so I would recommend you go over that. Question number 8. What are you currently reading? As I mentioned previously, that would be Lethal Deception. So we're just going to keep going with the questions because it's about to get a lot noisier here, and I don't want to keep trying to do this with a lot of noise going on. Question number 9. What do you use for bookmarks? Well, you see, so I don't really use bookmarks when I read. I kind of just use whatever I can cram between the pages at the time. For example, I am reading the Harry Potter series to my younger siblings. We'll read a chapter each night, and it is the illustrated edition by, let's see, I have one here, by Mina Lima. So we'll read these at night. They do have pictures and inserts. Let's see if I can find where we left off in here. Don't see it. Alright, so with their pictures, they do come with little pieces of thin paper. What I'll do, I'll just take this paper and I will put it in, stopping at whatever chapter we last stopped at. So, there it is. So we last stopped at chapter 6 on the Chamber of Secrets with them. So this is, well, I've accumulated 2 of these so far because we've had those little inserts and images that these are protecting. So I just put that in there once I accumulate them and pass that part of the book, and we just keep going from there. These are really beautiful books, by the way. I'm reading them out loud to my siblings just because they don't like to read, but I think it's because they never really had someone to read to them the way I've been doing, and they've really been enjoying it. Question number 10. Not really a question, more like a statement. Show us your current TBR pile. Currently, as far as TBRs go, my TBR is a digital TBR just because I've just started getting back into reading physical books. While I was in college, I didn't really get the option to buy physical books because I did study out of the United States, so things were much more expensive there in way as books went, and I didn't have the money to buy physical copies. So everything's currently on the Kindle. Now, question number 11. What do you prefer, hardcover or paperbacks? Hardcover. Every time. I will always choose a hardcover if I can. I will read a paperback. I'm not against reading a paperback, but I do just love a hardcover. I just love the way that smells like a printing press. It's hefty. If you're gonna throw it at somebody, just kidding. It really helps me feel closer to the story. The covers are usually higher quality than those of paperbacks. Sometimes the paperbacks will be of less quality if they don't have a hardcover companion, so their design isn't that great, I guess. Sometimes, not always. Question number 12. Do you prefer physical or digital books? Personally, I do prefer physical books, but like I said, while I was studying, I just got so used to using the digital books that's just what I've stuck with for now. I do plan on buying physical books, but I do need somewhere to put them first. This bookshelf, aside from my Aragon box set, these are family books, so this is a little bit of everybody's books here. Yeah, I just get to keep them. I'm the dragon. I'm hoarding. Question 13. Do you prefer owning or borrowing books? I prefer to own my books. I really do, just because I don't want anything to happen to them if I were to borrow them from somebody. I know if I were to let someone borrow one of my books, I would want them to take very good care of it. And I don't want to run the risk of something happening to someone else's books. I did go to the library a lot previously, but I just haven't been recently. I'm not sure why. Question 14. What book series got you into reading? I had to meditate on this a bit. I know I said I started with Aragon, and that's true, but there were other things too that got me into reading, like Nancy Drew, Harry Potter, the Percy Jackson series, those kinds of things. The Polar Express, I think it's His Dark Materials, that's the name of the series itself. Those were like my core foundation books to start reading avidly again, aside from the Aragon series. Throne of Glass came much later. We're almost done with these questions, guys. How did you discover Booktube? So this is question 15, by the way. Question 15, how did you discover Booktube? In all honesty, when I discovered Booktube, I think I looked up book reviews because I was wondering how I could do it for a school project when I was in high school. I wasn't exactly sure about that because I think we were supposed to review a book in front of the class and I was so nervous. But I think I did okay, and I also got hooked on Booktube. I still follow a lot of the same creators that I started with, and to this day I still watch their content, I still engage. Now I just want to be a bigger part of that community with them. Well, everyone, it's been great having you here with me today. I hope you enjoyed this this newbie tag that I decided to partake in. That way I can get started on my Booktube channel. I look forward to seeing you all in the future, and I hope that if you liked what I'm presenting, what I have to share with you guys, that you will like and subscribe, and I'll see you all here next time. Thanks. Bye.